They didn't just fire me, they erased my name, froze my accounts, and made sure no one would ever hire me again. Friends stopped calling. Family told me to move on. They thought I was finished. What they didn't know was that I was quietly taking notes. I built everything slowly. 12 years of 60-hour weeks. 12 years of saying yes when everyone else said no. I climbed from an entry-level position to running 3 departments because I believed hard work mattered. I believed loyalty mattered. I believed if you protected people, they'd protect you back. How stupid I was. The email came on a Tuesday morning. Effective immediately. No explanation, no meeting, no chance to ask why. Security walked me out like I'd stolen something. 20 minutes to pack 12 years of my life into a cardboard box while my colleagues watched through glass walls, whispering. The accusations spread faster than I could breathe. Financial impropriety, missing funds, my signature on documents I'd never seen. Everyone I'd mentored, everyone I'd covered for, everyone whose mistakes I'd buried to save their careers suddenly developed amnesia about who I was. My phone stopped ringing. My mentees blocked me on social media. The industry newsletter that used to quote me monthly published an article about toxic leadership without mentioning my name but making sure everyone knew who they meant. I watched my reputation crumble in real time, one LinkedIn post at a time. The bank called about my mortgage. The professional associations suspended my memberships. Headhunters who used to beg for 5 minutes of my time suddenly couldn't return my calls. But the worst part? The person who started it all was someone I protected, someone whose career I saved, someone who sat in my office crying about their own mistakes while I figured out how to make them disappear. Marcus. I hired him when no one else would, fresh out of business school with a DUI and an attitude problem. I saw potential. I mentored him. I fought for his promotions when the board wanted him gone. I covered for his drinking. I made his missed deadlines my responsibility. I told everyone he was brilliant when they said he was reckless. The evidence against me, his handwriting, his signatures, his access to my accounts that I gave him because I trusted him. The missing money? Gone to cover his gambling debts that I didn't know about until it was too late. The fabricated emails sent from my computer while I was traveling, while he was watching my office. He stood up in that boardroom and painted himself as the whistleblower. The brave junior executive who discovered corruption. The moral compass of the company. He had tears in his eyes when he testified about how hard it was to report someone he looked up to. How betrayed he felt. How disappointed. The board ate it up. They needed a villain, and I was perfect. Senior enough to take the blame. Isolated enough that no one would defend me. They needed to show shareholders they were taking action, and destroying me was easier than investigating the systemic problems that let this happen. But here's what Marcus didn't know about me. Here's what none of them knew. I'd been documenting everything for years. Every conversation, every decision, every time I covered for someone, every time I took responsibility for problems I didn't create. Not because I was paranoid, because I was thorough, because I was careful, because somewhere deep down I knew this day might come. That night I stopped crying and started listening. I withdrew from everything. No more fighting, no more defending myself, no more calling people who wouldn't answer. I let them believe I was broken. I let them think they'd won. I disappeared from their world completely. But I was working, quietly, methodically, patiently. I pulled phone records, bank statements, security footage, email metadata, calendar histories. I mapped every conversation, every meeting, every decision for 3 years. I tracked Marcus's gambling accounts, his debt payments, his alibis. I documented every time someone else made a mistake that got blamed on systemic issues instead of individual corruption. I found the pattern. Marcus wasn't just embezzling, he was blackmailing. 3 other executives had their own secrets, their own problems, their own reasons to need a scapegoat. They didn't just throw me under the bus. They built the bus. They drove it. They backed up and drove over me again. The IT director who approved the fake credentials? Marcus had photos of him selling company equipment. The HR manager who fast-tracked my termination without investigation. Marcus knew about her falsified drug tests. The CFO who signed off on the forensic accounting report? Marcus had been funneling money into the CFO's wife's fake consulting company for months. Revenge didn't make me angry. It made me patient. It made me precise. It made me understand something about power I'd never learned in 12 years of climbing corporate ladders. Real power isn't about what you can do. It's about what you can make other people do to themselves. One mistake from them was all I needed, and Marcus, true to form, couldn't help himself. He got promoted. My old position plus a VP title. The company held a press conference about new leadership. Marcus gave interviews about rebuilding trust and learning from past mistakes. He bought a new car, a new house, started dating the marketing director, who used to be my closest friend at work. But success made him sloppy, confident, careless. He started embezzling again. Bigger amounts this time, more obvious patterns. He thought he was untouchable now. The hero who exposed corruption couldn't possibly be corrupt himself, right? Wrong. I sent one anonymous email to the state attorney general's office. Not accusations, not theories, just documentation, bank records, transaction histories, security footage timestamps, phone records, showing coordination between Marcus and his blackmail victims. Financial patterns that even a first-year prosecutor could follow. The investigation started quietly. A routine audit triggered by an anonymous tip. Marcus wasn't worried. He'd been through this dance before. He knew how to deflect, how to blame others, how to play the victim. But this time was different. This time, someone had been watching. Someone had been documenting. Someone had been building a case for 3 years. The IT director cracked first. Offered to testify in exchange for immunity, then the HR manager, then the CFO. They all had the same story, the same blackmailer, the same mastermind, the same person who convinced them that destroying me was their only option. Marcus's house of cards collapsed in 48 hours. Federal charges, asset forfeiture, criminal conspiracy, wire fraud, extortion. The company settled a wrongful termination lawsuit with me so fast it made my lawyer dizzy. And then I stepped into the light. I didn't call press conferences. I didn't give interviews. I didn't post vindictive social media rants. I just existed, publicly, quietly, undeniably. I started consulting. The same companies that wouldn't return my calls 2 years ago suddenly needed my expertise in corporate governance and fraud prevention. I spoke at conferences about systemic corruption and whistleblower protection. I testified before Congress about the need for stronger financial oversight. I didn't ask for apologies. I didn't need revenge. Justice had already arrived. The company tried to offer me my old job back. twice my previous salary, stock options, a public apology. I declined politely. I had other plans, better plans. Plans that didn't involve working for people who threw away 12 years of loyalty because it was convenient. Marcus got 7 years in federal prison. The others got suspended sentences and community service in exchange for their cooperation. The company paid $40 million in fines and settled dozens of shareholder lawsuits. I rebuilt my life quietly. Different city, different industry, different rules. I started my own firm. I hired people who'd been thrown away by other companies. People who understood what it meant to be betrayed. People who knew the difference between loyalty and convenience. My former colleagues live with their choices now. Some moved away, some changed careers. Some still work for companies that know exactly who they are and what they did. They have to look at themselves in the mirror every morning, knowing they destroyed an innocent person to save themselves. I sleep well at night. They don't. I don't celebrate what happened to them. There's no joy in watching people destroy themselves. There's only the quiet satisfaction of knowing that truth has gravity. It might take time to fall, but it always falls. They took everything from me, and in doing so, gave me nothing left to lose. When you have nothing left to lose, you have everything to gain. When you stop fearing consequences, you start creating them. If you believe patience is more powerful than anger, you already understand this story.